owning a Bitcoin is better than owning a corporate bond. Owning a Bitcoin is better than owning a small building, right? Just all you're doing is trading up weak assets for strong assets. I think, and leave the politics. I think I don't think we have to fear the government. Not right now. Like maybe in a decade. If you look at right now, most of people concerned about regulation in the Bitcoin community, they're extrapolating from an altcoin. Like there's an altcoiner that was issued by some group of people that are going and they're running to the Bitcoin community saying, if the SEC regulates us as a security, or we can't keep doing whatever we're doing, then they'll come for you next. Well, no, I don't think they will. They won't come for us next. Like if someone's running an illegal boiler room pump and dump scheme to defraud the general public and the SEC says you got to stop, I don't think that's a threat to Bitcoin. Right. So I think that we overreact, and we don't need to overreact. I don't really see any initiative that prevents anybody from owning Bitcoin as digital property. Right. And I think almost if you cloak yourself with every other altcoin, you undermine your case for digital property. I don't think you improve it. And I think we should just come back to the observation that the enemy is not the government. The enemy is property. The enemy is alternate property. If there's $750 trillion worth of money invested in global equities, 300 billion in debt, right? 120 billion in global equity, 300 billion in real estate. All of that stuff has inferior property rights to Bitcoin. So all you have to do is just cheerfully educate the world as to why they're building their ranch land, their oil well drilling rights, all of those things, all their intellectual property is inferior to Bitcoin. It's all inferior to Bitcoin, right? And within any ecosystem, if you're in Venezuela, Bitcoin is the best property in Venezuela. I don't have an opinion about the government. In Turkey, Bitcoin is the best property in Turkey. I don't have to have an opinion about the government. In Argentina, Bitcoin is the best property in Argentina. In the US, Bitcoin is the best property in the US. In China, Bitcoin is the best property, right? Now, how do you feel about capital controls, wage controls, price controls, labor controls, political laws, religious laws? Everybody's got stuff that they could disagree with. But if you choose to disagree with all those things, right, you're going to be in conflict with a lot of people that aren't against Bitcoin. You're just turning them against Bitcoin, right? Right? Like, when you go to an Islamic country, right, Bitcoin is neither Christian nor Islamic, right? Like, you don't really want to get into that. When you go to any country, it's not Democrat, it's not Republican, right? It's not this or that. It's just better property than the alternative property. I think the only place in the world where a person who's pro-Bitcoin is in conflict with the government is in a true communist regime. If you're in a regime where the ethos of the government is private property or individual ownership of all property is illegal, right? There's a few, right? Maybe like North Korea, Cuba. In the Soviet regime in Russia, right? In theory, no one could own anything, right? And that changed, but people can own property in China. They can own property in Russia. There are a lot of political regimes which are different. As long as it's legal to own property, then instead of fighting the battle, like instead of saying, well, I want to topple securities law, or I want to change the tax code, I want to change the security code, I want to change the political system. Instead of fighting that battle, I think just fight one battle, which is Bitcoin is better property than an acre of land. It's better property than 37 donkeys. It's better property than a lump of gold, right? Is it legal to make a decision to own 100 donkeys instead of a stack of corn, instead of an acre of land, instead of a Bitcoin? If it is, then 99% of the solution to our problem is go find the people that own oil wells and own natural gas fields and own farmland and own tall buildings and cities and own too many cars and own stuff, and convince them to sell that stuff or mortgage that stuff and buy Bitcoin. And how should you do it? Well, within the system that you live in, right? Respect the laws and respect the culture of the society you live in. But by all means, don't invest in 100 donkeys. Don't invest in a bar of gold. Don't invest, the government doesn't have a law that says you have to have 100% of your assets in the local currency, right? Like, there aren't very many. By the way, when they get there, that's kind of like getting close to communism, so it's possible we'll get to something.
Do you think we are going there? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask on that.
No, I don't think we're going there. I think that we spend a lot of time worrying about that. And I just think it's a waste of time and energy. I think there's a lot of fighting about about who can come up with a bigger doomsday scenario than the next person. It's like, yeah, it's colorful. I mean, it'll get you like some engagement on Twitter. But no, I think, again, what's the total value of all assets in the United States other than Bitcoin that's called an asset or a property, right? Isn't that number?
Depends if we're subtracting out debt from those from those assets.
But the point is the debt's included.
Yeah.
And there are people that you meet every day that own the debt. And so if you're talking to the public, right, I think the battle you want to fight is to persuade people that owning a Bitcoin is better than owning a corporate bond. Owning a Bitcoin is better than owning a small building, right? Just all you're doing is trading up weak assets for strong assets. I think, and leave the politics.